Hello, and welcome to episode 150 of Steve and Mom Drive Across Georgia. Mom, what has been the most noteworthy part of your couple days back home?
I think, well, most noteworthy, of course, one of the purposes of our coming, or the main purpose, was to see President Carter and to hear him teach a Sunday school class. So that was just amazing. Other amazing part for me was also watching you capture some just fantastic drone footage of Savannah and rural Georgia. You know, you've been up with your drone and taken shots of my hometown. To have graduated way back in ancient times in 1970, and to look at what's happened to a little town and to a school system in 45 years is stunning. It's crazy. It's beyond anything comprehensible.
And hearing Clara and her daughter talk about how desegregation happened and then it unhappened by people pulling their kids out and putting them in private schools.
And that now they're left with, again, a totally black school. And, you know, one or two whites are there because they can't afford to go elsewhere.
But just hearing them like sigh and say that nothing has changed in 50 years.
Gosh.
It's so scary.
It is. And nobody will tell that story.
It's upsetting and it's scary. And yeah, and there's no reason to, I don't know, I feel like America does a good job of yelling and shouting about all the things we don't like about the rest of the world. And then,
in our own country,
you know, there's a lot that goes on here that we would do well to pay more attention to.
We're still struggling.
This is a nice look for us, this bright white, overexposed.
We're still struggling for equality, for racial equality, for opportunity, for economic opportunity. You know, we ran into a guy over in Plains that he had moved here from Florida.
Yeah.
But he said, I got a nice house for like $60,000, but there's no work. There's no, I don't.
There's nothing to do, even if you do find a nice house and it's a good deal. Like, can't even afford that because there's no income at all. And it seems like the entire set of towns along this road here are all just like barely hanging on with like what little industry is left. It's so frustrating, and it's hard to imagine, you know, what might revitalize them if they're ever going to be revitalized.
And what a tragic story in my own hometown. There's a little village of Westville that was a recreated village of 1850 that in the 1960s, a lot of the citizenry, they formed historical commission boards and councils. They got donations. They had, you know, they had a dream of pulling tourists into these little towns and revitalizing. And, you know, for 1960 through 1975 probably, those things were working pretty well. You know, people were coming in.
There was that little inn in the main square.
Then when Jimmy got elected president in 1976,
10,000 people a day.
That boom kept going because those 10,000 people who were coming in to see Plains would bleed over into
Westville.
Preston and Lumpkin and Westville, and the little Providence Canyons became a national park during that era. Because there was just a lot of things, you know, that were cool and attractive about this part of Southwest Georgia. But now it's just all dilapidating and disintegrating.
And seeing the people who live here sort of feel unsure about what to do.
They don't seem to know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if someone knew what to do, it would be done. It seems like there's a lot of potential, like people want to do something.
I think they do.
They just don't know what would work.
They just don't know how or what. And the capital.
For that reason, they feel super defeated about it. I mean, it seems like even Jimmy doesn't really know what to do about it.
Carter.
Because I'm sure if he, you know, if there was a clear answer for this sort of problem, he would be the person to make it happen.
He would find it. Yeah.
But there's not a clear answer. It's just a community that doesn't function economically. And it's just going to kind of spiral out of existence. It's a very strange phenomenon to see.
If someone is not able to come in here to these kinds of areas with some serious capital and investment and some innovative ideas about how to recharge these economies.
Opening a huge data center, you know, something that would employ people, a factory of some sort. But, you know, barring that, it's just not going to happen. It's just going to slowly fizzle out until there's no reason to live here.
And that's what's happened, you know, my generation, a lot of them left, didn't come back. A few are still around. But
out of the 25 people in your high school you mentioned, we had that mini reunion the other day of 5 of you, which I think is funny as like a full quarter of your class. But are a good many of you all out of town? Like, you left?
You know, I'll look back at our yearbook. There would be a perfect place to look and say, who is still in the county? And I really might be making a mistake by assuming that at least half didn't come back. It'd be an interesting statistic.
It would be interesting to see.
Did 3/4 stay? But those people who stayed, either they didn't have the know-how or they didn't have the financial means to try to
make things better. Well, if there is nothing else redeeming about this wonderful part of the country, it is these columns. These columns are astoundingly big.
Old homes.
They're just some really, really pretty homes.
Some of them are still very well kept, but a lot of them are also falling apart.
Yeah, it's just such a confusing thing to see.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It's confusing that no one knows what to do about it. It must be so frustrating for the people here.
Beautiful little house.
Cute homes. All right, good talk.